Hey everyone, I wanted to do a follow-up video on the video that I posted earlier today. What you saw was me meeting Nick Ortigo with Into Action, spelled N, the number 2, and the word action. He's my new personal trainer, and I literally met him at Starbucks, that Starbucks we were at, and just had run into him. When I posted that video, it was really just the spur of the moment kind of thing. Just decided to pull out my phone and just create a video with him. But now I'd like to tell you the story of how I actually met him. It's actually a little bit more interesting than just I ran into him. I was actually meeting with a client. I'm going to sit down. I was actually meeting with a client. It was someone else. Actually, I just going to Starbucks, and I just decided to sit down and to read a book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's the first time I read that. There's another story about how I got that book. I'll tell you later in another video. I was just sitting there reading when I saw someone that I met on LinkedIn. His name's Cam Howell. He was with Primerica. He's a great guy. So I just he comes over and I shake hands. And at that moment, I had this choice in my head to make. It's like, do I say, sit down, or do I just clam up and just let him do his thing and just keep trying to read my book and just forget about reaching out, forget about trying to connect and reach out to a person. But instead, in my mind, instead of just forgetting, or instead of just brushing him off and just trying to go about my own business, I saw in his hand he was actually reading a book about networking. And the title of the book was Never Eat Alone. So the idea there is that you always just, whenever you have a meal, you just always eat with someone else. So I just took the opportunity to just use that book title, and I said, Cam, why don't you come drink your coffee with me after you get your coffee? Your book there says, never eat alone, or never drink coffee alone. He's like, yeah, sure. So we really hit it off. We just had a great conversation. Scheduled an appointment with him. At the end of that conversation, just said, look, let's talk about Dale Carnegie training. I think it could be good for you to consider it. He said, yeah, I'll consider it. And then just walked out with him to the coffee shop. Out into the parking lot. We got our calendars and we scheduled the appointment. So we did the whole follow-through thing. So, I got the appointment, got him to make the commitment. And then another person that I know, his name's Robert, comes driving up and parks his truck. And he's a real estate investor. And just go to shake Robert's hand. And again, I'm met with the dilemma in my head. Do I just go about my business and just kind of ignore Robert? Or do I go in and just talk to Robert for a few minutes? And I said, so, you're busy? I was on my way out, but you want to sit and just talk for a little bit? And so we did. I just sat down and spoke with him a little bit, told him this story about the Napoleon Hill book, and also told him a little bit about the Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And there's this guy sitting right next to us, and he glances over at us a couple of times as I'm talking about those books. And I couldn't help but notice it. And my demeanor at the time, now this is where I'd like to point out the Dale Carnegie principle that I really use there and really explain its full meaning. So you should be able to read this. Dale Carnegie principle number 5 is smile. Not just smile with your mouth, but smile with your eyes, smile with your whole persona. Don't shut people out. Just have a persona of being welcoming. And that's really what that principle, I'm trying to get my finger in the right place, right there. That's really what that principle is about. It's one word, but it means so much more than just putting on a phony smile. And Dale Carnegie talks about you can't put on a phony smile. So back to the story, sitting there talking with Robert, and this guy glances at me a couple of times, and I just had this good flow in my spirit going, just felt welcoming, just felt friendly, just had a feeling of goodwill, just because I had 2 times that day turned down the thought in my head, just ignore these guys, just go about with your day. So I turned that thought and feeling down. I turned it away, and I decided to go against that feeling and be more welcoming. And each time I did it, it made me more welcoming. It made me more friendly, more just loving in general. I would go so far as to say feeling more loving. And so just kind of the exact situation was this. Robert tells me that he's there to meet somebody, and he'd never met him before. He'd spoken to him on the phone a couple of times. And so I had noticed this guy, Nick, this guy glance over at us a couple of times. And I said to Robert, okay, Robert, what's this guy's name that you're supposed to be meeting? He said his name is Ian. Then I turn over to this stranger that I'd never met before. I say, excuse me, are you Ian? Are you the guy that he's supposed to be meeting? He says, no, I kept glancing over because I heard you talking about Napoleon Hill and Dale Carnegie, and I think they're really cool. And I said, so what do you do? And I shake his hand. He's like, my name's Nick. I'm a personal trainer and this and that. Just had a good conversation with him. Again, my whole demeanor was just a welcoming demeanor, a smiling demeanor, had a smile on my face, had a smile in my personality. And I just said, so it's like, well, I've been thinking about getting a personal trainer. And he's like, yeah, I've been thinking about, I'd like to find out a little bit more about Dale Carnegie. So I went to meet him and became his client as a personal trainer. It's just something that I need to develop habits in. You're not going to see this double chin a few months from now. That's going to be disappearing. And then I meet with him to enroll him in the Dale Carnegie course. And it's something he really wants to do. He's got an amazing vision. So go and check out his website. Go to Into Action. That's the letter N, number 2, and the word action. And remember, when you go out there, just carry with you that smiling demeanor. It's not something that you can just flick on like a switch. You have to make a few little decisions to have these positive interactions with people. And then what you do is you build up momentum in that friendliness. Because if I had turned the first guy down and just ignored him and went about reading my book, never would have met the guy Robert, and I would have turned Robert down, and then I never would have met Nick, and I never would have bothered to speak to Nick. So this positive flow from one positive interaction to another, it is a very valuable thing. The more that you can get in your life, the more valuable it is. So start doing that throughout your day. The people that you work with, your family, just start to act in ways that you don't typically act in. Make that your new norm. Become more friendly. Give compliments. Just have that lightness of your spirit. There's just no reason not to have it. You may think that it's not you, but you can change that. Okay, so it's an extremely important life lesson. Start taking it to heart, and you're going to see more videos from me in the very near future. So I'm looking forward to perhaps getting to know you, and maybe I'll run into you at a coffee shop. And if you see me, don't be afraid to just walk up and say hello. Y'all, God bless. Have a good one.